Today is Autism Awareness Day. Now, I've been familiar with autism for quite a while. I taught for over 20 years. I have 2 graduate degrees in education. You don't do all that without running across, at some point, pretty much every form of special needs student there is out there. But I've learned a lot more in the last year and a half than I even knew that there was to know. Because for the last year and a half, I've lived with Victor. Now, let me give you a little bit of background. Judy, Victor's mother, she's somebody I've known for about 25 years. We used to hang around together a little bit because, ironically, she was dating my best friend. Now, times change. People in their 20s move on, lives go their separate ways. Judy and Glenn broke up. I moved away. We kind of lost touch. I married somebody else. Judy married somebody else. Glenn married somebody else. We all went on with our lives. I helped raise 4 stepchildren. Glenn has a lovely stepdaughter, and Judy had Victor. Now, Victor, when he was young, there were some differences in his behavior, and eventually they sought a diagnosis. And when he was about 20 months old, they found out that Victor was autistic. Now, what does that mean? Well, autism isn't one specific set of characteristics for everyone. That's why they call it autism spectrum disorder. And one of the things that Victor did when he was very young was that he was very aggressive. Judy to this day has scars. He would bite, he would pinch, he would punch, he would scratch. She describes the darkest time in her life as when she was afraid to embrace her own child because she didn't know if he was coming for a hug or to attack her. I can only imagine the strength it took to get through that. Now, a few months after my previous wife passed away, I ran into Judy and we decided, hey, let's go have a cup of coffee, just catch up, see what we've been doing for the last 20 years. And as it turns out, we haven't spent a day apart since. Um, and for the last, well, we're engaged now, and for over a year, Judy and Victor and I have lived together, along with 2 cats and a dog who pop up in my videos sometimes. Bernadette is right over there right now. And it's been a real learning experience, I think, for all of us, really, because I have conditions like Tourette's and ankylosing spondylitis that they've learned to deal with. Judy's incredibly supportive, but of course, very central to our life is Victor. And Victor is, in some ways, a pretty typical teenager. He likes to get his own way, he likes to watch videos, but in other ways, he's very much like a giant preschooler. Now, thankfully, he's no longer aggressive. I'm a big guy. I can physically control Victor if I absolutely have to. I could even restrain him if I had to. I would not like to. I wouldn't want to. Um, and it's, I mean, you never want to lay hands on your child. I'd certainly never hurt him, but if I had to defend myself, I could. But fortunately, he's not aggressive because he is literally twice his mother's size. She's a small woman and he's a big boy. He's 16 years old. He's 6 feet tall. He's over 230 pounds. He's strong as an ox, doesn't know his own strength. Keeps breaking rocking chairs because he loves to rock and he doesn't know his own strength. Um, Judy is a very small woman, but she can look Victor in the eye, looking up, and she can settle him down. She can back him down if he's misbehaving, if he's being very agitated. She can calm him. It's really quite amazing to see her interact with him. Now, what got Judy through all these years? Largely her own determination and her family. I've met most of her family, certainly all of her siblings and her parents, and they've all been tremendously supportive. They've backed her up when she needed help with Victor, and they've supported her, and they supported him, and they love him, and he loves them. It's great. And now I like to think that I help. I'm in the picture, and I'm a pretty calm guy generally, and Victor and I can come in close together, and I can talk softly to him, and he'll settle usually, or I can speak sharply to him and get his attention if I need to. I've learned that trick raising other kids. Um, like I say, he's in many ways like a preschooler. He loves Clifford the Big Red Dog. He loves the Berenstain Bears. He loves Sesame Street. He loves watching Between the Lions videos on YouTube. Um, and really, he's a sweet kid. He's happy. He laughs. He giggles. He plays. He interacts with people. He has a fantastic team at school with a great autism specialist teacher and some fantastic educational assistants. Um, and he goes to the autism center every week for what they call teen social, which is a social activity. They do lots of great stuff with the kids. And probably the most common thing Victor will say to one of us is, "Mom's smiling, Dave's smiling." He wants everybody around him to be happy, to the point that sometimes we have to say, "Okay, Victor, that's great that you're happy, buddy, but I'm doing something. I can't smile all the time." But still, he loves that interaction. Um, but he's challenging. He's very challenging to deal with when he doesn't get his way. And sometimes it's out of our control. It's not just like denying him an ice cream cone or something. I mean, he loves school. In the past 3 weeks, we had March break, and then in the 2 weeks following that, each week had 2 storm days. The second storm day this past week, Victor and I were both up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Judy often gets up with him, but I try, if I happen to wake up, I try to let her sleep a little bit and get up with him. Unlike most teenagers, we're doing well if he sleeps until 6. So Victor and I are up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the first words out of his mouth, "Back to school." So I checked, and school was canceled. And so I spoke to him. I said, "Victor, buddy, there's no school today." Victor's response, "Back to school." "Sorry, buddy, school's canceled. I can't help it. Believe me, I would drive you there myself if there was going to be anybody there for you to be with." And Victor became very agitated. He was biting his hands, which is a sign of agitation for him, or anger or frustration. He was squawking. He even jumped up and down repeatedly, which he only does when he's really agitated. And I'm not the most pleasant person the first 10 minutes when I get up, but I was trying to hold it together and calmly talk to Victor. And of course, the noise woke his mother, and she came out and helped to settle him. But he still didn't attack anybody. He didn't, he didn't get violent. He didn't hit. He didn't pinch. He bites his own hands, unfortunately. But yeah, he was very frustrated that he didn't get his own way, just like any of us, really, especially kids. Um, he likes to eat junk food. He likes to drink pop. We try to limit that because his medication does cause him to gain weight. We try and put a limit on that. So we've recently instituted a rule. His big treat on Sunday. See, Saturday night he stays with his father, and then Sunday we go pick him up. We go visit his grandparents, and Victor and Mom and Dave, if I go, and Nanny, and sometimes a couple of Judy's sisters will all go out for lunch together. And he usually has a pop with that. But he's also gotten in the habit of asking for a pop on Saturday. So we've had trying to explain to him over the last few weeks, you make a choice. You can have a glass of pop or a can of pop on Saturday if you have water or juice or chocolate milk or something like that with your lunch on Sunday, and only one or the other. And he doesn't really get that concept very well. But trying to explain that to him, it's challenging. He had a glass of pop yesterday. Today's Sunday. So going for lunch today, he doesn't get pop. So, we're going to see how it goes. He may throw a tantrum, or it may go over fairly well. Sometimes he'll say, "Coke, please," or 7-Up, please, or Pepsi, please, or whatever. And we'll say, "No, apple juice." And he'll say, "Okay, apple juice." And that's it. Argument over. Oh, look, there's Bernie in the video. Mentioned the cats and dogs. She's wandering around one of the other computers. Great. So the whole point of this autism awareness thing is to spread not just awareness, but understanding and acceptance. People with autism, some of them write books, some of them hold full-time jobs, some of them have difficulty navigating everyday life. Some people with autism spectrum disorder do not communicate very well. Some of them don't really mature beyond a childhood level emotionally or intellectually. Some do. So it's really, that, like I say, spectrum is the right word. It's a huge array of differences among people. You can't just say, well, this person's autistic, so this is what they're going to be like. That being said, there are a lot of commonalities. I've seen on a Facebook page for families of autistic people, you might be an autism parent if, and some of them ring very true. You buy ketchup in 5-gallon drums, you might be an autism parent. Some things are fairly common. I can't imagine what it must have been like to raise a violent child, to be afraid of interacting with your own child. I can't imagine how hard it must have been to be an advocate year in and year out, getting required programming, getting required supports, getting help for Victor, trying to always do the best thing for Victor, fighting the idea, do I need to put him in an institution? Can I keep him at home? And Judy did all that. And now Victor is a happy, active, bouncy, bubbly, quirky 16-year-old boy who's going to be finishing school in a couple of years. Then what do we do? So we've been looking into, adult programs and things that we can find for him to do. All of this tells me I thought I was a strong person. I've been through some shit in my life. I have done some stuff. I've survived a house fire. I've survived a divorce. I've had a girlfriend die. I've had a wife die. I've struggled to raise kids. I've lived in unfamiliar territory in the north. I thought I was a strong guy. Then I got to know Judy, and I saw what strength really is. I admire her tremendously, and I, greatly appreciate the support her family has given her, and still to this day gives us. I feel very lucky to be a part of their lives. I've had an opportunity to learn a lot in the last year and a half, far more than I ever knew about autism families, about things that are the struggles that are faced with autism programs. Um, Take a chance to learn too. If you have an opportunity to interact in some way, to support an autism program, to talk to the family of an autistic person, to interact with autistic people, if you have a chance to do that, do it. It's worthwhile. These people have differences from what we would consider the norm when it comes to communication. Victor's a very, very smart guy. There's nothing stupid about Victor whatsoever. But there's a barrier between the message he wants to get out and the messages we want to get in. And it makes life very challenging. When you see people lighting blue lights tonight for Light It Up Blue for autism awareness, pay attention and think about it and take an opportunity to familiarize yourself and learn a little bit about how these people can enrich our lives and how we can enrich theirs.